You're listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. Whether it's for food, fuel, drinks, or snacks, about half the U.S. population shops at a convenience store every day. We'll talk about what we see at stores and what the future may hold for our industry. And now your host, Jeff Leonard.
And I'm that guy.
And I'm Chris Blazinski.
And I'm Carolyn Schneer with NACS. And today we're joined by one of our other co-hosts, Donovan Woods with the Fuels Institute. Welcome, Donovan.
Thank you, Carolyn. Happy to be here.
So what we want to talk about is we want to talk about all the cool trends and hear all about how the Consumer Electronics Show is going to affect the convenience retailing industry in 2018 and beyond.
Wow, all of that. And how much time do we have here? Like 1 minute?
2
minutes?
hours.
Okay, perfect. That is a big story. I love this show, and it's huge. I wrote down one stat that said it's the same size as Vatican City, 170,000 people going all through Las Vegas. It takes a long time to get anywhere. So I had a good time, but I was tired.
And they're calling themselves CES these days, right?
Correct. Well, that's the name of the show, Consumer Electronics Show, but the association is now Consumer Technology Association, or CTA, so that is a change. But I don't think you guys, when we go to, Vegas for our show, we are in the Las Vegas Convention Center alone, and it's a huge event. We are tired afterwards. This quadruples that. It's in the Las Vegas Convention Center, the Renaissance, the Palazzo, 8 different locations in Las Vegas just to cover this one trade show. There are a lot of consumer products out there.
And there's a lot of consumers, too. It's a mix between association professionals,
Correct.
unlike the NACS show, which is mostly just those people who belong to NACS. But consumers, regular, everybody, people.
Correct. And not that they do this on purpose, but it's priced so that they get the right consumers there, those who are actually going to buy something and go back home. There's over 50,000 international guests. So it's not just a show where you feel like it's a flea market. Very professional, very focused. There's education sessions everywhere that you can go into, and I sat through a few of those. So very top-notch show. And I'll get this out of the way now. The power did go out. Went out for like 2 hours in the Central Hall in Las Vegas, and that is a show management nightmare. However, they responded perfectly. There was tons of tweets out there about it, but it was a great show. So let me clarify, in spite of that, great show. The exhibitors on the floor had their flashlights, still showing people use their phones. Great show. It did not ruin the experience at all.
I can only imagine the amount of power drain going on anyway, thanks to everything being electronic these days. That's the name of the show.
Absolutely. You guys should come with me next time.
So Fuels Institute. Why is the Fuels Institute at CES? Tell us about some of the trends you're looking at in terms of how it relates to vehicles and convenience stores that may or may not be fueling those vehicles or powering those vehicles.
So this is my 3rd time at the CES show, and at first, I'll be honest, I was just going to find the new phones and the new headphones, and that was my selfish reason for being there. But now, with the Fuels Institute, you go there because it's really the best car show that you see all throughout the year. You still have the different cities, the big ones, Chicago, Detroit, DC, and we'll hit those. But this is the one that not only shows the technology that's coming out, but also the education behind it. And that's something that I'd love to get to because you have real hardcore engineers as well as technology experts there talking about it all together. You don't just look at it and it's a shiny new car that you may never ever see on the road, but you learn about the technology behind it, which is really what they're pushing.
Do they have the cars actually there?
They do. There are every major manufacturer from Ford to GM to BMW to Mercedes, Nissan, they're all there. Not only there, but the cars you see there aren't the things you see right now. They may have a few new Camrys, new Toyota Corolla is my favorite car, but they also have cars you're never going to see in the next 10 years in terms of autonomous vehicles that wouldn't be street legal based on how they're designed, but it's things you won't see right now, but in the future you will see.
Probably a lot of electric vehicles, I would think.
Yeah, our co-host, John Eichberger, would have been a little disappointed in seeing so many EVs and the discussion being all about EVs, but it's a cool topic. And for this market, this industry, it is a cool thing to talk about. No one wants to hear about liquid fuel, but honestly, what is it, less than 1%, less than 0.1% of all cars sold are electric vehicles. So although it's talked about a lot, we don't necessarily buy those cars when we actually go to the showroom. So they're very cool, though, but the infrastructure just kind of limits it right now, but it's trending that way.
So in looking at the broader point of the day, from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed, there is something at that show that moves you throughout the day And I guess even overnight, you get those watches that tell you, did you sleep well? So pretty much all
Right.
the time, you're being monitored, you're being told how to act or
You're
how to
being
think.
watched.
You're being watched.
little bit.
Followed.
And there's good and bad in that. So what are some of those things out there that you saw that, this might be an opportunity for convenience stores? Maybe not to sell, but maybe to talk to their customers.
Just being able to connect your mobile devices with even your shopping experience. And one of the things I saw and I was happy to hear is, although we like shopping online, it's fun, I enjoy it, I don't like being around big crowds, the brick and mortar isn't going away. And that's still the best experience people can have, is to be inside of a store, touching, feel like the product they want to purchase in hand, but yet what they're kind of encouraged to go, not just at the gas pump, but by their mobile device or loyalty points, that might make you want to go inside the store a little bit more and get benefits. But I will say this, one of the other major topics that we saw everywhere was security. It's cool to have autonomous vehicles. It's cool to have, your watches and your phones all connecting and talking to you, but how easily are they going to be hacked? And those sessions were full within the first 2 minutes. You could not get in those rooms. Everyone wants to know.
Because of security? Wouldn't let you in?
Because of security, you couldn't get in. Yes, and it makes sense. It makes sense that is a big concern for consumers as well as those who are buying those products.
So were those sessions, did they talk about cars that already have been hacked, or the potential for, this to continue to happen? Because it has happened. I mean, there
Correct.
are reports of autonomous vehicles getting hacked on the road, and obviously it's probably intentional because you want to see where the
Correct.
data concerns are. But
It was there. They didn't want to scare people. That wasn't the whole topic there. I mean, they brought it up, but it could be. And those in the audience really went that route. They'd hear the presentations from the different manufacturers and different associations, and those who would come up in the mic, you're talking about a room of 500 people, they would still walk up to the mic and ask, but really, how do we stop it from happening? Because although people think that autonomous vehicles mean less pollution, safer, less fatalities, there's also a major risk of you're driving and someone takes over your car.
Well, we've had most recently Gray Taylor with Connexus on here as well. So that's a danger. But I mean, there's just thinking of that giant interweb out there of things that are connected. They can get in your car, but then you drive up to a gas station, and so it's somehow connected into their loyalty program. Now, all of a sudden, those people have your data. And so there's just so many firewalls, or whatever the word is, needed to make sure that while everything's still talking to the things they're supposed to be talking to, those other people aren't listening.
Yeah, and my brother bought me a Amazon Echo for our anniversary, and it's still in the box. That was early December. I love what it does, but the idea that it's out there kind of scares me, that it's listening all the time. But as far as C-stores are concerned, that should be important, data security. And I know we don't think about that when we're walking into a store, but in reality, if you are marketing to your customers that way, most of your newer customers do like working through their mobile apps. I do. And to think that I want to release that information to you, please keep it safe, that liability falls on the retailer itself.
And I know NACS Tech, our technology conference that we had for a number of years, a lot of the themes were there's a difference between data and information, and a lot of retailers are just simply overwhelmed by the amount of data and how do you process it. And I think we've gone beyond that now, where a lot of times we're thinking about maybe there's a way to move that data to somebody else where it's of value. Right. And I saw recently one of these car leases. They talked about how when you lease a new car, you sign something that says it's okay, they will be monitoring every place I go, good and bad. It'll make them better. The premise is it'll make the car manufacturers more knowledgeable about how people act and react, and it'll help with safety and things like that. But the other element of that is there's just more people watching. There's more data, and to a certain extent, car companies are saying they're more data collection companies that are on wheels.
Yeah, that's true. Let me ask you guys this, because I think about it. We're there. Everyone's there with their mobile devices. I mean, when you're walking with that many people around, you shouldn't have your phone out and walk with you, but I did, and they do. It seems to be a segment of a society that doesn't care, because I kind of feel like they know already. I can't stop it. Do you think customers are concerned about it really, or is it more the retailer trying to get ahead of it and to protect their customers?
I think to a certain extent, and I think you're dead on, first off. Remember when apps used to cost 99 cents?
That's correct.
And it's like, oh, well, 99 cents, $1? I'm not paying $1. It's like it's free, but they get all my information? Sure. Sign me up.
But you know what? We're in convenience, so we want to make it as convenient as possible to them.
Right.
So at what point, I think I see what you're saying there, are you, getting in between that? If we want to be convenient, we want to tell you like, hey, I just saw you. I remember when we talked with Kevin Coop not long ago. We're driving down New Jersey, and the Easy Pass knows we're coming. It rings up, tells the store, hey, your customer's on its way to you, and they start sending you things. That's so awesome. That's so convenient. Yep. Hold on. Why do they know I'm here? Then you start really thinking it through, and it can be kind of scary and awesome at the same time.
Yeah, it just goes back to before the wall came down, our family spent time going through Eastern Europe, and we went to Russia. And we left one city in Russia, and drove to another city. This is back in the late 70s. We arrived at the hotel, and they said, what took you so long? They knew exactly when we left. They knew in this different times. Yeah. That's kind of like where we are now, except they're not Russian soldiers. Right. But they do know when we left and where we're going. Yeah. And I think the key thing is, as we look at these new consumer-facing technologies, if there's something in it for the consumer, it's much more likely to be embraced. If you're designing it with a consumer in mind, whether it's to make things faster, quicker, better, cheaper, smarter, and as long as the consumer is a focus, I think you're a little better off than if you think about, how do I reduce labor costs, or how do I do something else that's for me and not for the end user.
That's very true, and it kind of makes me think about when I walk into CES, I think everyone thinks like I do. That's why they're there. They like the new things that shine, whether it's the car or the mobile devices. But I read a stat in one of their daily articles that said, although we all like autonomous vehicles, those of us who are here, I personally like the idea. It said it's 50-50 split. It's 42% say, I like the idea. However, no, you're not taking over control. And the 45% say, sure, it sounds great. It'll stop us from hurting someone or hurting ourselves. And I kind of fall in the middle. Again, I'm not too worried about it. But as cool as some of this technology is, it won't take off unless consumers want it.
But don't you think it might be a gradual progression, though? Like
yes.
You have like the level 1, the level 2, 3, 4 of autonomous, where 4 being full-blown autonomous, I can just sit there and read the paper, check my phone. But a lot of new cars out there, well, my iPad, whatever. Right. But a lot of new cars out there today have autonomous features built into them. Just as a consumer driving that car, you don't necessarily think of it that way, because they go all the way to the full-blown autonomous. Right. But autonomous, as I understand it, is going to gradually phase in over time, and it probably won't be till about 2025 where you'll see.
Correct. That's literally the year they kept using, was 2025. And a lot of the holdup even between then and now was just standardizing some of the components. OEMs or automakers actually agreeing on what to use to make it simpler.
Like
and
a standard.
Correct. That would be a lot helpful to the companies. It'd be easier for the consumer not to have to pay as much. But you're right. And with autonomous technology, it was everywhere. Artificial, augmented reality, all those things that we don't see everywhere, but it's slowly leaking out. Cruise control. We've had cruise control forever in our cars.
The anti-lock brakes.
Anti-lock brakes. I never thought that was actually not in my control. So the idea is there, and we'll see it more happening with the heavy-duty fleet or in fleets in general than we will with the actual consumer cars. If I see my local government car driving by without a person, or with a person not really paying attention, and they're okay, then maybe I'll think about doing that myself. So slowly but surely, it is definitely heading that way.
And that's only 7 years from now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned virtual reality, because we were at a presentation and we heard talking about virtual reality. Now that's a little bit further out there in some respects. But augmented reality is already here. That's Snapchat filters. That's Pokemon. And somebody said, "Well, I'm not familiar with that, so it's really not my world." And said, "Ever watch a football game? Ever watch that first down line? That is augmented reality." And all the Kardashians, that's all augmented reality.
But it's also what your customers, your youngest, maybe most tech-savvy customers are doing. So you got to get with those times.
And I think there are some opportunities for retailers. How do you design a store just with augmented reality or virtual reality? And what are those promises? Was there anything at CES that looked at it's more of a consumer, obviously, with a name.
Correct.
Consumer. But are there retail focuses that you saw that this is specifically designed for a retailer?
There were. I will be honest, I saw more so focused on the fuel side and the vehicles, but everywhere you went, there were either devices, again, to get you into the store. And once you're in the store, there were things moving that weren't real people that were moving. That was kind of weird.
Like robots?
Yeah, robots moving throughout the stores, as well as it looked like it was a hologram, but it looked like the person was right there actually talking to me. I didn't respond, but people did walk around it thinking it was real. So I won't speak too much on that. I'm not sure if I saw a lot, but I will say this. Everything there was focused on getting people to buy something, getting them to be consumed with their mobile devices or a connection to them, their vehicle, where they shop, getting that data to find out why they shop, when I should have more staff there, when I shouldn't. So it's a big show. It's in 8 different hotels and convention centers, but I encourage everyone, if you're in the retail industry, you actually should go. It's not just about headphones and mobile devices. It's about your business as well.
So speaking of mobile devices, did you see a lot in terms of technology, like payment technologies, Apple Pay and Google Pay or whatever all those other things are? Is that big? Is there more?
That's huge.
There's more out there?
And not only just Google Pay, Apple Pay, and things like PayPal, there are apps and there are the companies that were there that I've never heard of that my brother, who's 14 years younger than me, knew. I wanted to send him something through PayPal. He's like, why don't you use XYZ?
Venmo.
Never heard of it.
So how do you trust them all? How do you know what one's real, what's not, who's just taking your money and running with it? That's my security side of things. But I mean, if there's so many of them, like, someone's got to be a little off, right?
There are, standards. You can probably ask Gray at Connexus to show you exactly what you should be looking for, but there are. And I trust most of them. And again, at some point, I've kind of given myself over to the fact that it's out there, and hopefully it never gets hacked, but I'm going to enjoy my life and not worry about it too much.
So when is CES? It's annual?
Every year, January, the first week or 2 of January, it's usually 3 days, 9th through the 12th this year in 2018, but it will be every year in Las Vegas until the foreseeable future. And even if the power goes out, I promise you'll have a good time. Tons of education sessions that you'll want to. And one more thing I want to add, there's even sponsored education sessions that focus on specific things. I won't name the sponsor, but a great consulting company had a connected vehicle and a connect to car sessions that were 3 days in length, all day. Well worth the time spent there.
We should get them on a podcast.
Working on it.
Well, I'm pretty sure the 4 of us are going to the DC Auto Show.
That's what I've heard.
And we're also going to see, it'd be great to hear about, compare, contrast what you saw at CES with what we're all going to see at the DC Auto Show. Look for videos, look for more on technologies that can advance what our customers are seeing and what we'll be seeing in stores. So thank you once again, Donovan.
Thank you for listening to Convenience Matters.
Convenience Matters is brought to you by Nex and produced in conjunction with Human Factor Media. For more information, visit convenience.org.